So this week's episode is part update on my life because there's been some large changes or soon to come large changes, and part Q&A. Before we dive into the Q&A, I have some tea to spill that I am so excited to tell you guys about. Hello and welcome back to another week of Calling in Sick. I'm your host, Alex Wildeson. This episode is dropping on January 5th of 2026, but it is currently still December, which is why if you follow me on socials, we're going to just name the elephant in the room. I have this lovely cut on my head. A sign fell on my face this last weekend. I was trying to decorate for Christmas. We have this gallery art wall with a very large 3D sign of Austin that just says Austin. It's metal, it's rusty, it's covered in dust. And I bumped it with my elbow or with my shoulder, and that thing just went right onto my face. I was so stunned from it. It immediately started swelling and bruising. I have raccoon eyes right now, but they're covered with concealer. I thought I broke my nose. Cooper and I went to urgent care. Urgent care doctor was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you broke that. We don't have a x-ray tech today, so unfortunately you have to go to the emergency room. So we went to this freestanding emergency room called Ally Medical, something like that. They said they take my insurance, but then at the end, before we were discharged, they came by with this packet for financial assistance. So I am worried that that was going to be out of network and very expensive. So fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything that we don't have to pay for that out of pocket because they did a CT scan on my face and that would be so fucking expensive if I have to pay for that out of pocket. But it was lovely. If my insurance does allow me to go to these places, I will never go to a normal ER again because holy shit. It was a magical experience. Walked in, was seen immediately, started getting ice on my face, lidocaine on my nose. They gave me medicine. It was an A+ experience, which I don't think I have ever said those words about the emergency room. So we love that. The whole thing round trip, 4 hours, I think, including the urgent care portion. And they let us order Chipotle to the room, which was an excellent experience. And they had a Roku TV so we could watch Netflix. Granted, it was not our account. It was Susan's account. Thank you, Susan. And I'm sorry that we watched an episode of The Man on the Inside. You're going to be starting from 2 episodes from where you left off. And the storyline might not make much sense. So apologies, universe, let Susan know. So this week's episode is part update on my life because there's been some large changes or soon to come large changes, and part Q&A. But before we dive into the Q&A, I have some tea to spill that I am so excited to tell you guys about. I happy cried after a rheumatology appointment today, which has never happened. I usually sad cry most often, almost all the time. Actually, 100% of the time I sad cry after rheumatology appointments because usually it's not great news. This time, to my chagrin, we get some good news. As you guys know, if you've been following along, all of my scans and tests that we did over the last 2 months for this clinical study I'm in at UPenn showed nada. Nothing in my organs, nothing in my vital organs. We're in the clear. Do I have active vasculitis elsewhere? Yes. However, it is sequestered to my legs. So we love that. Basically, the only thing I have to worry about is just excruciating fucking pain. And I can deal with that one. Organ failure, that doesn't sound super great. So with that in mind, my doctor told us, Cooper and I, that we have a window right now. A window I did not anticipate. A window where we are approved to start trying to have a baby in 2026. I'm so excited. So the next 6 months, I'm going to be tapering off some medications. I'm going to be doing a bunch of functional medicine to get my body into a happier, healthier place. In July 2026, we're going to try to transfer our first embryo. I still can't believe it's real. I've cried 3 times today. I'm so fucking excited. I have wanted to be a mom for my entire life. And to finally have my doctors tell me I'm in the clear zone is what the fuck? Is this real life? So I'm going to cry again. No, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to cry again. I don't know. Cooper and I are so excited. I know that this window is it doesn't come very often. So I'm going to be spending the next 6 months doing everything humanly possible to get my body and my uterus ready to hold a baby. Cooper and I have 2 embryos. If you guys don't know this, they're both girls. Cooper's going to be a girl dad. We are going to try with the first embryo. If that does not work, we are going to have quite the dilemma, because either we're going to use a surrogate that hopefully that embryo works with, or we'll try naturally for a little bit, or we will adopt. But my plan A that I would love is to carry my own babies. So here's to the next 6 months, getting myself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually ready to be a mom in 2027. It feels very surreal to have a doctor tell me I'm in the window and I'm medically cleared, and that they're excited and supportive of this, which is like the best part of all of it. And obviously I will be documenting and sharing and showcasing all of this stuff for you guys, because I wish right now that I had somebody I was following that was showing their fertility journey, the ups and the downs, from the chronic illness perspective. So you guys will be along for the ride as we start this next chapter and adventure of trying to become parents. Today I also saw an owl and a double rainbow, so I'm pretty sure that was like God wink, universe wink saying, you're good, girl. I'm sorry for the distraction from this week's episode. I just was so excited I couldn't possibly hold that in anymore. So I will obviously be sharing everything, what medications I'm staying on, which medications I'm tapering off, what I'm doing to get my body and my mind physically ready to be a mom between now and July 1 of 2026. But until then, I'm trying to just sit in this excitement to know for the very first time in my life, my doctors are not only clearing me, but they are supporting me in becoming a mom. And they are all so excited. I'm going to cry again. They're all so excited to see me become a mom, because they know that's been like what I have pushed through all of this health stuff for. So I can't wait for 2026, but I know I've got some work to do between now and then. And I can't wait to bring you guys along for the ride. So I don't end up sobbing this whole episode with happy tears, let's turn to the Q&A. This week's episode, I am answering all of the questions that you guys submitted over the last few weeks. We'll keep some of them in the podcast, and the rest will be posted to our Substack for our subscribers. So if you're a subscriber to Substack, you get to see the full Q&A. And if you aren't a subscriber, go subscribe. It costs $30 for the whole year, and that helps support all of the podcast expenses. And I very much appreciate it. But before we dive in, Alex's picks. My 2 picks for this year, to start the year, are all about easy lifts and easy wins for healthy, happy diets and guts. So my first pick, AG1, I had never tried it until literally this week. I'm hooked. I have never been so regular in my life, and that says a lot because I have a lot of tummy issues. As you guys know, I am constipated all the time and full of shit. No longer am, thanks to AG1. Literally converted to an AG1er after one use, one day. Technically 1 day and 1 morning. I do not have a code for you guys yet, so I will be working on that in the next 2 weeks before this episode posts, and hopefully I will have a code so you guys can all become AG1ers alongside me in 2026. My second pick of the week is Ella's Flats, which are these delicious little crackers that are clean ingredients, no peanuts or tree nuts, which is amazing. Lots of different flavors, but they're healthy. They're a great alternative if you don't want to have a bunch of seed oils or a bunch of unhealthy snackies. Great for a charcuterie board. That's what I am using in my charcuterie board this Christmas and this New Year's. You can use my code AlexandraWildeson15 for 15% off at checkout. Okay, without further ado, let's jump into this week's episode. Okay, so the first question is coming from M, who is a caregiver. And this question is, how can I best support my partner when there is so much out of my control? What's something I can do, say, or provide in the difficult emotional moments? All I want to do is something to improve their current circumstances and better our time together. Well, first off, you're writing in, you're listening to the podcast, and you're following along. You are clearly already trying to understand their world, trying to understand their lived experience, and looking for ways to just help them. And that in and of itself, light years ahead of many others. But to answer your question head on, it's twofold. One is to know your partner's love language. How they like to receive love is how you have to learn to give love. So if, for example, I love quality time and I love acts of service. So Cooper knows when I'm down bad, sometimes all I need him to do is just sit next to me and sit in the shit with me. He doesn't have to say much. He doesn't even have to do much. I just need him next to me to know I'm not alone. I also love acts of service though. And when I'm sick and down bad, I can't pitch in to our household things and help keep everything moving as well as I would like to. And that will often make me feel like a burden. And so what Cooper does in turn is he reminds me that I'm not a burden. He encourages me to rest, and he lets me know that when I let him take on those things for me, for us, I'm letting him feel good in being a caregiver and a partner, because that's something he actually can do to change my current circumstance. And this is not something that's like we learned overnight. We've been together for 11 years. We've learned to move with each other. We've learned to communicate in different, more direct, better ways. Which, that I will also add, part of how Cooper is a good caregiver is because I am able to turn inwards and identify what I need in those hard moments, so I can tell him what I need. So it's a two-way street. I think as the sick person, you have to know how you want to receive support. Is it shit talking? Is it solutions? Is it solidarity? Or is it sympathy? Because when you can identify that and tell the people that love you that that's what you want, you're allowing them to support you and feel good about supporting you. So that's a great question. And I love that you are exploring this and trying to find ways to better support your partner. I wish I had just do X, Y, and Z and you'll be solid, but that's not really how it goes. But I hope that these little hacks and lessons for communication can help you guys figure out ways so that you can enjoy your life together even more. Next question is from Gracie. When can we have an ATX meetup? It's like you read into a crystal ball, Gracie. We are doing the very first IRL event in Austin in 2026. So if you live in Texas and you want to come in and hang out with us for a morning, I can't wait to have you. If you can't make it, don't worry. We do tons of virtual events and we will continue those in 2026. So stay tuned for all of the activities that we have planned for this next year. I am so excited to get to meet you guys and get to see you guys and interact with you in all new shapes, forms, and sizes and ways. So yes, we are having an ATX meetup. Okay, the next one is from Anonymous. Have you heard of people using GLP-1s for inflammation? It seems like everyone is on Zempi. Yes, I actually have heard of using microdose formats of GLP-1s for reducing inflammation. Personally, I haven't tried that, but I have tried other peptides. I tried BPC 157, which is a peptide that helps lower inflammation. I actually felt really great when I used that. I don't really know why I stopped using it. I think my health just went into the shitter and I stopped all functional medicine, but I definitely think that peptides have some validity in it. But I will wait to have an expert on the podcast to hash that out with and give you guys the answer that you deserve. So stay tuned. Okay, next one is also from Anonymous. Tips for building a routine when you work remotely or are homebound due to your illness. My brain is all over the place and jumps from thing to thing. How do you stay on track? That's a great question. And I have an answer for that one, actually. Time blocking. It's so easy when you live at home and work at home or are bedbound to let your days turn into Groundhog Days, and you have this to-do list where you kind of forget to do it and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So every single morning after I do my gratitude journaling, after my 45 minutes of quiet morning bliss, I sit down and I time block my entire day. I know what I need to get done on my to-do list and what I actually can get done on my to-do list in that day by 10 a.m. Of course, you make adjustments as your symptoms and energy ebbs and flows, but scheduling your day and time blocking your day unlocks your ability to actually be productive, in my opinion. I also there's this one calendar that I love, and I'll link it in the description, but it has a month, a week start, and then the daily tracker, and that week start page is like what I live by. You brain dump all of the to-dos that you need to get done, your wellness goals, your socializing things and commitments that you have, and then you organize out your week. And I do that religiously every Sunday. So by Sunday night, I know what I have to do in the next week, and I flex that knowing, okay, those are high spoon days, those are low spoon days. So whenever that day hits, I can move things around that then parallel how I'm feeling. And I think having ownership of my calendar with that spoon math in mind has changed drastically how I go about my day and how I've been avoiding that Groundhog's Day. And also my to-do list has gotten shorter because of it, which makes me feel very good because I'm type A to a degree. Okay, the next question is, how do you stay motivated to do makeup, hair, self-care? I feel like I've fallen into just being complacent with my appearance due to low spoons when I used to love doing my hair and makeup. I don't do it because it takes up spoons that I need in other aspects of my life, like work and family. That's a great question, and I do have an answer for you. I have figured out a 10-minute routine. So my skincare and my makeup are very simple, very light, and very minimalist, and I can get it done really quickly. My hair, I totally agree. It's exhausting to do your hair. So I do an everything shower every Sunday, detox shampoo, whole 9 yards, and then I put air dry cream in it by Divi or styling mousse by Crown Affair. And that gives my hair this look like it's been styled when I don't even use a hair dryer at all. This hair right now, air dry. But I use those styling products, let my hair air dry, and then it lasts throughout the week. And then I rely on dry shampoo. And so if I don't get a chance to wash my hair again until the next Sunday, I'm okay. And I know everyone's hair is different, so I think the key there is finding the 2 or 3 hair products that help your hair look its best, and then finding the dry shampoo that works with your hair texture, condition, oily, dryness, whatever have you. And that's how you just don't have to use spoons and can lean into that self-care, makeup, hair, put together feeling. Okay, next question. What was one difficult thing from your old life that you had to grieve when being diagnosed, and how did you cope? Hands down, the first hard thing that I had to grieve was traveling. Traveling is inarguably painful for me. It makes me flare up. It hurts my veins. Just think about it. All of that altitude, compressed air, it does not feel good on this body. So I really drastically decreased how much I was traveling. I think prior, work, family, and leisure travel combined, I probably traveled at least once a month up until when I got sick. So going from that to once or twice a year was a huge change for me. It made time feel like it was moving slower. It made me feel like I had lost some sense of identity and courage and go-getterness. So I combated that by watching a shit ton of documentaries about different places in the world. And I started making a list of local places I could go and explore that made me feel like I was doing something new and novel. Once I got through that one, I think it was the career shift. So much of and I've talked about it on the podcast a ton, but so much of my identity had been wound up into being a woman in finance and investment banking and private equity and venture capital. And I always wanted to be the top of my game in those spaces. So being taken out of that field was really, really hard for me. That was probably the biggest mental punch through I had to get through. But time has a funny way of sorting everything out. I then fell into content creating and podcasting. And to tell you guys that I love this 100 times more than any job I had before this doesn't even cover it. I love my job. I love getting to do what I do. I love getting to interact with you guys. I can't wait to do more work in the space next year because there's more work to be done. And I can't wait to be more involved in all of that from a foundation, a giving back standpoint, and community standpoint. And those are things that I didn't get to explore ever in my old career. And it's opened up this new side of me that I think is actually way more aligned to who I am as a person and my personality. So sometimes the things that we grieve the most are the things that we actually needed to step away from the most. And I know that sounds crazy, probably, but if I was your big sister, that's what I would tell you. Okay, the next question is from H. Advice for handling finances as a sick chick, and advice for explaining or dealing with judgmental family members who don't understand how expensive being sick is and how to spend money differently. Finances are hard, so I think the only thing I can say is do a budget, and do a budget with your partner or with your friends or with your family. Having an accountability partner to help hold you to what you are allotting yourself to spend goes a long way. There have been years where Cooper and I were in mega debt, like an insane, overwhelming amount of credit card debt that when I would think about it, it would keep me up at night and I was so fucking stressed out. My parents sat down with us and they helped us do a budget. And so we could understand how we could cover our needs and what things that we had thought were needs maybe were actually wants. And after years of budgeting hard, and really hard work, sacrificing our social lives, missing weddings and baby showers, wasn't just because of my health, it also was because of our finances at times. That's hard. But it is also something that I think a lot of young people experience, and it's just not openly talked about. Money is a taboo topic, and it shouldn't be, because I think the only way to grow out of those holes or learn how to do that is by talking. So I'll bring on a financial advisor for an episode or for a Substack little series if you guys would like, and we can go through the how-to of navigating that. Communicating it with your family, though, or people that don't get how expensive it is. It's none of their fucking business if you don't want it to be. I always took the stance of, we can't afford that, and just saying it bluntly and simply like that. If you say I can't afford that and someone challenges you on that, fuck them. You got to take care of you, health-wise, money-wise, and home-wise, always first. The next question is from AJ. What is your response to someone who, when you're describing your limits for today, and that person says, well, everybody has something. My dad was visiting and said this when I was explaining where my spoons count was for that day and why. And I was taken aback, especially from a parent, even though I know he's not very involved. That stings and is hard. I'm so sorry. When someone doesn't respect a boundary, you've got to remember that they're only not respecting that boundary because they're not getting what they want. A boundary should be respected. And those that don't respect boundaries, that is their problem. And what they think about how you're using your energy, how you're using your spoons, that's none of our business. They can have whatever thoughts that they want. We don't need to know them. So I guess my advice is to have fuck off energy about that. But if you want to educate, if you want to sit that person down and explain it to them, I think the best way to do it is put it in words and terms that they know. And if the response is, well, everybody has something, I think you can acknowledge that. Totally true. Everyone does have something. But I want you to recognize and understand my something, because that's all that really matters in this relationship. I need you, or I would like you, to be able to see how I live my life and how my limitations impact me. I think when you acknowledge what someone else says and then force them to come back to what you're trying to explain to them, it cuts through the bullshit, and it cuts through them not being able to respect your boundary because you're saying what you're saying is irrelevant. And it kind of makes them feel stupid, I think, which is good in those situations. As you can tell, I'm a little bit of a sassafras, if you didn't know that already. Okay, next question is, how did you know when it's time to request a handicap placard for your car? Obviously, like most chronically ill people, I have good days and bad days, and I struggle with getting a handicap placard because I always think, well, I'm not in a wheelchair yet. That is a totally fair viewpoint and thought. I also had those. And then when I had my botched spinal surgery, I got a disability placard, and then I decided, you know what? I have limited energy, and even though I don't have a visible disability, I'm disabled. And that means I'm allowed to have the accommodations that the world provides to those of us that are disabled. There aren't a ton of them. You might as well take them that are offered to you. So my encouragement to you is partially to challenge your own thinking of yourself and the internalized ableism that we all hold of what disability means, and to also give yourself the permission to say, I might not need it every day, but I need it when I need it, and that's good enough. Okay, the next question is tips for struggling with that new year guilt of feeling like you are in the same place as last year or even more behind because of your chronic illness. That is just a tale as old as time, isn't it? We, with chronic illnesses, feel that Groundhog Day pressure all the time. And the end of the year, when everyone's reminiscing and doing their highlight reels, it's hard. It's really, really hard to sit there and realize, oh, I didn't have those big moments that everyone else is celebrating. But what has always helped me is to categorize what a big moment means to me. And it's not going to look the same or be the same as someone else, especially someone else that's healthy. A big moment for me is having a really cozy night in with Coop and playing dominoes all night. And as a content creator, I take a lot of pictures. So I try to gather my good moments and my good wins. And I look at those at the end of the year. Because even when you have a hard go and a hard time that you're living through, you can still have a good life. And good moments still did happen. They're just really hard to remember when you're forced to look at everyone else's big moment highlight reels. So that's the first part of the answer. The second part of the answer is, instead of comparing yourself to everyone else, compare yourself to where you were a year or 2 years ago. And maybe your disease has progressed and you've gotten physically worse. But have you had aspects of your life that have improved? Do you feel like your identity has evolved and you have more pride in who you are today as a human being than who you were a year ago? Did you do something to give to others that you're really proud of? Did you learn a new communication skill that has taken you leaps and bounds beyond where you were a year ago? Use those as your mile markers instead of what everyone else does. That helps you realize that you did have momentum in this last year, even if you don't feel like you actually did. And I think in realizing those things, you help yourself kind of tilt your lens of how you're viewing the world, and it allows this next year to be better and brighter for you. Okay, and our last question. How do you get up in the morning? LOL, honestly, getting up is typically the hardest part of my day. How do you start the day on a good foot mentally when you wake up feeling like a flaming pile of shit? How do you actually motivate yourself to get out of bed? I really struggle with those things. Great question. I'm also right in that boat. I struggled with that my entire life, but this year I finally did something to change it. Well, I did 2 things to change it. First thing that I did to change, I made a promise to myself. The first words that I utter out of my mouth in the morning cannot be, I feel like shit. I know that sounds ridiculous because I wake up every morning and I feel like shit. But if my first word is that means my entire day is grounded in that. Let your first words of the day be something positive, something grounded in happiness or joy, because that will give you momentum for the rest of your day. The physically getting out of bed part, that's fucking hard. I do a really silly thing and I count down. I go 5, 4, 3, 2, and on 2 I just push. I will not get out of bed unless I physically force myself to get out of bed. When I was in high school, my parents had to splash cold water on my face. I hate getting out of bed. It's cold, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, it's so nice and warm and cocooned and safe in my bed. But we're going to get back there anyway, probably at 3 p.m. So get yourself out of there, physically push yourself, have your partner roll you out of bed, turn on all the lights. Oh, that was the other big hack. I got automatic lights in our bedroom and they all turn on at 8 a.m. You cannot sleep through those automatic lights turning on. You are awake then. And if you need to wake up slow and sit in your bed for a little bit with your eyes open, that's okay. Do your gratitude journal, but let that morning be slow in your own way and let it start with positivity, I think. Okay, I'm going to turn to the live to answer a couple questions. So if you guys have any right now, drop them in the chat and I will try to answer them. Okay, question from the live is, have you ever struggled with wondering if it's worth to take medication to medicate a symptom or not? And how do you decide? Yes, of course. I think if we all just blindly say yes to every medication, we are in for some gnarly ass side effects and probably frustration down the road. It is so good to question every single medication that you're taking, to know, is this symptom something that I want to potentially have more side effects? Is this symptom something that if I get more side effects, that would be worse than the actual symptom, or opposite? A great example of that, nausea. Zofran constipates you if you take enough of it often enough. So whenever I'm nauseous, I go down a little mental checklist. 1, how bad is the nausea? Can I use ginger chews, limey things, rubbing alcohol scent to get through it? Or is it debilitating? And then that's how I decide if I'm going to take a medication or not. I think questioning it is always the right thing to do. So you're starting off on the right foot, just even thinking about it. Okay, next question. How do you advocate for yourself when at the ER? I have trauma around being treated poorly and not believed, and thus not getting the care support I need. So now I don't go when I probably should. Ooh, that is a shared chronic illness experience. I actually have an episode on my ER and hospital survival guide, so I definitely suggest checking that one out. But to answer maybe the tangential parts of it, if you call your doctor or their nurse and you report your symptoms and they tell you to go to the emergency room, go to the emergency room. If you don't feel like it's bad enough to call your doctor, then maybe you don't need to go. But I also struggle with that because I have had some trauma in the emergency room. I once had a man throw my prescription list at me and tell me I was a drug addict, and then if I didn't leave the emergency room in that bed, he would have me arrested. So I feel you. I have had that trauma. What helps me get over it is knowing, okay, if it's bad enough to call my doctor and my doctor tells me to go, it's bad enough to go. In the episode I just mentioned, I go through a checklist of things that you should try to get at your local ER and hospital to make those stays and those trips a little bit easier when you have an invisible or chronic illness. And I also highly recommend going to trauma therapy because these traumas are hard and they're heavy, but you don't have to sit with them and live with them every single day as your truth. Going to trauma therapy this year has just relieved me of so many of these pains and traumas that I carried, and we have a lot of those living with chronic illness. It's been transformative in my anxiety levels and how I live my life and how I deal with my chronic illness. Okay, and that's all the questions. My one brain cell show for you guys. What is it going to be this week? My one brain cell show. I'm stumped. I have nothing that I'm watching that is worth mentioning, and I need you guys to help me pick out my one brain cell show this week. So in the comments this week, drop what you're watching. What's your favorite show, your favorite movie, your favorite audiobook, your favorite activity that you do when your spoons are low and you just need something to distract you and entertain you with very low effort. Let me know what your favorites are, and maybe I'll pick one of those and give it a watch myself. I love you guys. Happy New Year. And may 2026 bring all of us a hell of a lot more laughs, a hell of a less symptoms. Is that saying that right? That works. And I hope I get to see you guys in real life this year. I love you. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me for another week of Calling in Sick. As a reminder, I would love for y'all to like, follow, subscribe, save, share with a friend, do all of the things. It truly helps grow this community, and it helps these episodes reach the people that need them the most, whether that's for an educational piece, to have a little laugh, or to not feel so alone. As a reminder, Calling in Sick sits on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, and anywhere else where you can find your listens. From the bottom of my heart, I absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for calling in sick with me every Monday. It's been an honor and a pleasure so far, and I can't wait to continue building this community with y'all. Love you.